multiple cameras too.
All right, we're recording.
Ready, set, go, John style.
Hello.
Not even like the slow girls holding up that's motocross. What do they call? Are they card girls in motocross?
They only
too?
use slow girls. Yeah, you're right.
Well.
You're right.
Well,
all right, cheers.
Okay.
It's coffee time.
There's no sound.
I have
cheers, baby.
Hot coffee, you have cold coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so refreshing on a warm day, huh?
It is a warm, muggy, not quite muggy, it's humid.
It's not too muggy, yeah.
Yeah, morning in June, Minnesota. Everything's lush and beautiful. It's going to be a sunny day.
That's right.
Okay, so let's get right into it.
All right, I'm here.
All right. So you were listening to some Kevin Samuels this morning, and, you know, he sounds really harsh, and I think, and you were listening to someone where he's saying, you know, I'm not being mean, he's like, I'm just, you know, you called in here for advice, and here I'm just like, my hands are going.
Karate chop.
But, like, the truth sometimes is really hard. And it takes a lot to be willing and open. Like, just the other day, you were going through my business, some of our social media posts we've been putting out, and you sent me a screenshot, and you're like, this needs to have this. And I'm like, dang it, you're right. Like, dang it, just like, we made a mistake. But and I said, you know, if you have a few minutes, I'd love for you to go through our social media and anything that stands out to you, because we've got to shore things up. And you're like, okay.
Well, the point of your social media is you have a very limited space, right? It's not like a news article. Mm-hmm. You have very limited time, very limited attention grabbing capability. And so if it's not good, it's just not going to be good. It's not an insult on anybody that did it. It's just going, I can't see what this means.
Well, especially because you're not in the day-to-day stuff. And
if I was, I'd be a genius at it anyway.
You do have a particular knack.
Everybody does. What happens is people are focusing on different things. Like the person that put that together, I can see the background was great. The coordination was wonderful. The color scheme was awesome. The letters were big enough you could read everything.
Yep.
They were just missing detail in the script, in what it was saying. And so if it doesn't speak to you immediately, it's out. You got to get rid of it.
So in these programs, you know, where women call in, and I'm going to generalize here. And do you agree that men in general are better at receiving feedback?
Criticism. For sure.
Why do you think that is?
Because it's true.
Yeah, but
because we don't feel anything about it. Like, dude, watch out. You're going to walk into that lake of fire. Oh, shit. Thanks, man. Man, I wanted to walk this way, and I'm on a walk, and I'm thinking about other things, and I just wanted to just be in my head. And oh, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you listen to some of those, and the women that he was telling, don't do this, do that, lose some weight. Don't call yourself a 10 if you're not a 10. Look in the mirror and find somebody that's accordingly attractive at your level, maybe slightly above, maybe slightly below. That's fine, you know. And if you can't live with that, then get a dog and die alone, you know. And that's just practical, right? You're gonna have, listening to those shows, especially his show, you got 35, 40-year-old women saying they're a 10, and they're definitely not, looking for a 10, never gonna get it. And they'll be like, well, I've been with 10s before. Yeah, because a guy will have sex with you and never even call you again. Mm-hmm. And you got to be the gatekeeper of that. And, you know, like he says, the guys are the gatekeeper of the relationship, and the women are the gatekeeper of the sex. And if the women give it up too soon, just like if a guy meets a woman and says, oh, I want to go out with you, I want to be with you, I want to love you, I want to marry you, a woman might be like, whoa, that's too fast, this guy's weird, what's going on? You know, well, if a woman puts out too soon, a guy's going to be like, well, this woman's loose. She's a slut. You know, she's gave it up to someone else the other night. That didn't work out. Now she's giving it up to me. And those are the kind of assumptions that men will make. And it's just a fact. So There's no changing it. There's no societal programming. There's no changing it.
I think they're stereotypes, but they're true. Oftentimes stereotypes
Well,
are
it would
true.
not be a stereotype if it wasn't true.
So
Because it wouldn't stand the test of time or the rigor of the criticism.
let's just use me as an example. So in like the 5 times that I was resistant to you telling me the truth, why do you think
I'd
that
say
was?
4.5. One of those times was not full-blown resistance.
Okay.
So,
right.
yeah, so you,
Thank
you've
4.5
been pretty good.
Well,
times
that's pretty good
1,000.
out of 24 years.
Yeah, sure.
So, using me as the example, why do you think, what do you perceive as my resistance to, when I'm resistant to truth?
The only thing you're resistant to is looking at what you have and accepting it. So your resistance is, but I want to dream for more. And it's like, yeah, but you have to be grateful for what you have currently in order for you to get your mind into a space of being able to even have more. It's not the pursuit of more that brings more. It's the desire to make your life better in general, and it's not just about more or a bigger this or an easier that. You have to actually go through the steps to get there.
Well, it sounds like conceptually that's the same as the one caller we were listening to this morning who called into Kevin Samuels. She was not honest about where she was at, like her own level.
Conceptually, it's all the same thing.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to get down to is like what's below, what's underneath.
Well, that's what guys see. That's when you talk to a guy and he says, you ask what's the fundamental keys to a relationship, and a guy will just go 1, 2, 3, and if I don't have that, it's not worth it.
But that's what's so interesting is like, I mean, we're people, we're very, very similar, but we're so different. And it seems like guys can have a clear perspective on women, but I think women don't really understand men
Well, it's the subtle differences. Take martial arts, right? Take a martial arts competition. 2 guys can be same weight, same height, same size, same muscle density, same fat density, same all that kind of stuff, and one guy is 1/10 of a second faster.
Yeah.
It's the subtle differences that make all the difference in the world. That means that guy will move differently away from an attack, or he will attack differently and he'll get there quicker.
So this morning I talked to you about, I've had a few thoughts on my mind that I was, you're at a point of transition, you're working on some significant stuff in your business, significant pursuits. I mean, you're always in the hunt, but like some big stuff. And I had some concerns, and I was trying over the last couple of days to not like unload those concerns on you. And I said to you this morning, I did basically like a content-free talk. And by content-free, I mean, instead of like actually telling you the things that were on my mind, I talked about it conceptually. And, I've really been working on the last couple of years in particular. I mean, I would say I've been working our whole marriage on being a better partner with you, but I would say in the last couple of years I've probably gotten better traction. Like I've found good sources. I credit the Bible primarily for reading the Bible, not just like sleeping next to it.
It's a really good source.
But actually taking the time to reflect and apply, most of all. And so what I said to you is, as your wife, I care. And so I might see something that's going on with you, and there's a really fine line between caring and worrying. And I've been riding that line. There are some things that I was like concerned about, but at the same time, I'm like, if I bring this up to Jon, is that going to divert his attention? Now, you are a very focused person, and you even confirmed in the conversation this morning, you're like, yeah, I would still stay on my path. I'm pretty focused in what I do and think, but I still didn't want to be that, like that chirping in your ear that's just enough to pull you and at least, if not divert you, at least divert some of your energy, right?
What principle is that? Where do you get that from?
Which specifically?
You're saying not chirping in my ear, not diverting me, not throwing your worry on me. What is that? Where does that come from?
Thinking to not do that?
Yeah.
So it's multiple things. It is, I believe in the man being the head, and the woman can be the neck, and that's a whole other conversation.
Well, the man is the head and the woman is the neck.
But thinking
There's a turtle walking right by that tree.
Oh yeah? Slowly.
Just to the left. Yeah, just to the left to see it.
Yep, neat.
Little turtle looking for a place to lay its eggs.
That made a long journey up the hill.
Oh
wow.
Yeah, the lake is quite a ways away. Yeah.
So this has been my journey throughout our marriage. Is deep down, like I think I have these fundamental principles of a healthy marriage, right? The man being the head, and a number of things like that. But there's such underlying programming that pulls in the other direction.
Well, that's why there's so much divorce.
Yes.
There's never been anything that I've done to you to make you not, like, hold you down, to make you non-successful.
I'm trying to answer your question also. So the reason that behind me saying that is, one, I think deep down I do believe in just naming that one principle of, the man being the head. And then two, actually the last couple of years seeing in my life how if I'm allowing myself to be diverted in thought, how much energy that takes away from me, that I need to stay focused, and me and you are different, but I've been better I've been better able to, I think, see things from your perspective that you've said over the years, like, just calm down, don't worry, AKA have faith.
That's
right?
the number one thing a guy should say to a woman when
calm
she's
down.
Not calm. It works.
So I know I'm kind
With the right woman.
I'm kind of rambling, but it's been.
You have some lotion on?
Probably, yeah, I do have lotion on. So if I were to summarize, allow me to summarize, because I'm trying to make this more succinct also for our podcasting.
Well, obviously it's not succinct, so keep going.
Yeah, I mean, these are things that are coming together, and maybe that's what people need to hear too, is the process.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it is a process. That's why we're talking about it.
So I've had more experiences in the last couple of years, especially in business, that helped me to understand maybe what it's like to be you in our relationship. Because even if, like, a contractor...
Because you've been running a business.
Because I've been running a business, yeah. So if someone's, like, has an idea and they start running off with it, I'm like, wait. This meeting, I said at the beginning of this meeting, is about this. Where are you going with that? So actually, I would say that has been my playground to really... It's not a playground, but
yeah.
That has been...
Well, I think it is.
That has been where I've actually learned the most, I think, in understanding... Not just in our relationship, but like, oh, in my mind, I'll say something. I'm like, oh, that's what Jon was talking about. And I know you've just been waiting years to hear that.
No, I haven't been waiting.
No.
I know what's going on.
Yeah. Okay, that's a long way to answer your question.
Well, there's a meme going around, which is really great. Mm-hmm. And this just goes for married women. It says, if at first you don't succeed, do it the way your husband told you to do it the first time. And that's, I would say for the most part, that's true. Because if the husband stepped in to say something, that means he saw something that wasn't going to work, and he knew what to do or how to do it, and then tried to explain it. And a lot of times that meets resistance, because everybody wants to be independent. And your generation was really told that your opinions matter and that your opinions are valid and that, all these things, everybody should have a say, and there's a seat for everyone at the table. And there is a seat for everybody at the table, but most people should keep their mouth shut and listen. And that's where guys grow, because with guys, it's all physical hierarchy, right? And then after that, it's knowledge hierarchy. So in the sense that guys are either verbally put in their place, and if they don't follow it, they can be physically put in their place. And I'm not saying through violence, I'm just saying through people doing things better than them, right? Mm-hmm. You play football,
performing.
Everybody knows who the fastest runner is immediately. Everyone who knows who the best thrower is immediately. And, you know, and then guys will just be like, okay, Billy, you're quarterback, and Johnny, you have to be a blocker. And Johnny's like, I want to be the quarterback. And then another guy will go, you throw like shit. You can't be the quarterback.
You throw like a girl.
Yeah, you don't have any targeting capability. I was staying away from that phrase, but thank you.
I said it. There you go.
But that is true for the most part. You know, guys get their mentorship whether they want it or not. Women are constantly asked and constantly praised and constantly coddled and constantly, and then if other women don't like them, they're completely destroyed in the background privately to other women, you know, and then they don't know. And that's why women don't know. For guys, that's why your wife doesn't know she's doing things wrong, because no matter what she's done her whole life, she's probably been told, good try, good job, that's a good thing, you did good, at least 20% of it was correct, you know, all these things. Mm-hmm. And guys don't get that. Guys get, you failed, now succeed. Mm-hmm. And what do you got to do to succeed? And then a guy will get humble early on and go, I don't know what to do. And then a guy will teach him what to do. Women don't say, I've never heard a woman say, I don't know what to do. They will give an explanation, even if they know it doesn't make any sense, they'll just give it. And guys everywhere, in meetings, in conference rooms, everywhere, are going, I wish there was no women in here. You know, well, maybe Becky could bring the coffee and sit down if she's got big boobs. But, you know, outside of that, I wish there was no women in here.
Let's get into a little bit more conversation before you just turn people off.
I'm not, no, you know, guys everywhere know this. And women need to understand this. I'm not doing anything, saying anything to piss any women. I'll probably piss more guys off because I'm kind of giving out guy code, right? I'm giving out secrets that are amongst guys. And that doesn't mean that women need to go out and try and correct it. Here's how you correct a situation. I'm going to let you guess. How do you correct a situation that you have to be in?
That I have to be in?
Yeah, you have to be in a situation. How do you correct the situation?
I have to assess the situation.
How do you change the situation? How will you change it?
I have to assess it. I have to...
Just one answer.
Be there. I don't know.
That's close.
Yeah.
You can only change yourself.
Yeah.
So if you want the situation to be different, you have to be different.
Definitely.
And guys, every guy knows that. Mm-hmm. Every guy knows that. Guys will fight it. They'll be like, well, I'm gonna say shit. I don't care if I get in trouble. But that's the nature of men, right? That's the adventurous nature. They have to come up against something stronger, smarter, bigger, badder, faster than them in order to give in. And they won't give in until they meet it.
So here's a question though. Do you think that women should respond like men? And what I mean specifically is, oh, I'm going to be in that situation. I want that situation to be different. I need to change myself.
That, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
women
also
need to adapt to the situation, not go in and say, oh, somebody said something that offended me. Yeah, well, be in a room alone with guys. If you were invisible in a room alone with guys, you'd give yourself away because you'd say something. And they'd be like, there's an invisible person in here.
So another example. So I've told a story before about my uncle. When I was little, he trained me in softball and I made huge improvements that year in softball.
Yep. Because
but he
didn't treat you like a girl.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting at, though.
He treated you like somebody that wanted to get better. And that's not male or female. It just so happens that most of the time that comes from the male side.
So here's what I'm getting at is I myself have been confused because I'll listen to podcasts and stuff for self-improvement, and I tend to gravitate towards guys teaching.
That's because the guys are the only ones teaching it.
Well, there are women trying to teach it.
There's like 3.
But I gravitate towards the guys, and then I run it by you. So, but what I get confused by, not necessarily confused, but I question myself every once in a while is am I learning to be like a guy? Am I actually learning to apply this as a woman am I just learning it from a guy's perspective, and therefore I'm trying to be more guy-like, and then it creates conflict with us?
Yes, and you'll always be a second-class guy.
So
you can only be a first-class you.
You're just talking to me. You're not talking to other women. How would you coach me in improvement when, because I can't talk with you all day and go, what did you do with this? What, or just, play John tapes all day.
I'm going to beat you up a little bit too. That's the difference.
That's the difference.
Also, I call you maybe once a week to look at something, maybe to read over a long document that I've written or something like that. You and me talk about your business every day.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm not saying that's bad. But you're not being independent, right? And I don't want you to 100% be independent. I want you to be comfortable with who you are. If you're looking up, say you're looking up procedures and documentation stuff and how to market some things and that's not male or female, right?
Yeah.
You'll bring to the table things that guys won't bring to the table, and you need to leverage those strengths, right? Whatever your strengths are, those need to be your central focus, right? And there are things you're going to have to do that aren't your strengths because you own a company and you're running it and that kind of thing. But if you are listening to men, for the most part, what'll happen after short period of time is you'll start to sound like a guy that doesn't sound correct. You'll start to sound really guyish, and it may work for some of your people. It might not work for all your people. It may work some of the time. It won't work all the time. But you should always remember that first of all, that you're the boss of the stuff you're doing when you're working with your people. You can be flexible, but I've pointed out many times that you're being too flexible.
It's a challenge
because
whether another woman out there is running her own business or not, you're still participating in life, and there are things to take care of. And so I don't think there are a lot of models out there of how to be a very highly functioning woman but still be womanly. Because there are just things in life that you've got to take care of. Because maybe...
Well, there are. I mean,
Like who? But I don't mean to divert you too much, but this is really an issue.
It is. And there's a lot of roles, right? You're not being a mother. You're not being a daughter. You're not being a sister. You're being a business owner who is a woman. And technically that has nothing to do with anything other than you may bring some strengths in general that other people don't have, and you'll probably bring some strengths that men don't have, right? But there may be a level of weaknesses that you have to address, right? And they may not be weaknesses. They may just be areas that you should technically kind of stay away from, right? Or divert to someone else, like me. A lot of times you divert to me because I'm willing to fire, I'm willing to argue, I'm willing to write up legal documents, I'm willing to talk to attorneys, I'm willing to do all these things, and which are all very more masculine kind of
You're the enforcer.
Pursuits.
Like there's I can handle it up to a certain level, and there's a level it's like, okay, we need to bring Jon in.
Well, the background of that is also I have a lot more business experience than you.
Right.
I've been in business for a really long time, and realistically over 30 years, and 39 years, yeah, maybe 40. Yeah, what am I? So since I was at least 12, making money. Mm-hmm. So dealing with people, talking with people, one of the things you've been learning recently, which will go for most ladies, is just deal with it in the moment. If there's a problem, if there's something that doesn't look right, bring it up, have a discussion. And as a woman, you may want to say, hey, everybody take a look at this. I want to know what everybody thinks. And if one person in the group designed something and everybody knows that person did, say, have the person that designed it first critique it, so that they are the first ones criticizing. Well, I didn't know how to do this, or I understood that, but maybe I didn't have enough information for this. And then let everybody else go gangbusters on it. It's like,
Yeah.
let's tear it apart and rebuild it, guys. What should it look like? How should it sound? What should it say? How should the colors be? What matches with what? We're doing a promo. Who are we speaking to? Why are we speaking to them? What are we going to say? What do we want the result to be? Very clear cut, And then when everybody has an idea, say, these are a lot of great ideas. We're not going to be able to use every single one of them. And don't feel bad if we don't use your idea. I'm going to log it for later or next time. And sometimes we all have ideas that just won't work, And what'll happen with women is they'll say, that was a really great idea, Becky. And I'm really proud of you for saying that and bringing it up. And it was really brave of you even to bring it up, even though the color scheme doesn't match anything we're doing. That they just constantly just fawn over women. So women don't get a perspective of cut and dry, of yes and no. Yeah. It's a lot of gray area, a lot of maybes, a lot of sometimes, a lot of wonder, I don't wonder, I know, I don't know. It gets all this big mishmash. And you'll see in meetings with guys, when there's multiple women, partway through the meeting, the head guy just goes, all right, we got to stop all this other stuff. And we got to get this done. We only have a half hour. And,
yeah.
You'll see that and you'll hear that when there's a lot of women in meetings. And I don't have any problem with women. I love women. I love you. I love being around women. I think women are awesome. But I think when a woman tries to exert authority, there needs to be leadership, and leadership is about influence. And if you can influence people, and that doesn't mean winking, blinking, and turning your tush up. It means just saying, I see this, I see that, here's my solution, and you guys can talk about that, and I'll listen to other ideas.
Okay, I have a lot of questions today.
Okay.
So you've brought me in on a number of meetings. You don't bring me in often, but we're both involved in each other's business.
I brought you to billion-dollar corporations for meetings, yes.
So don't give away our secret sauce, but maybe give an instance, a reason why you do actually choose to bring me in. I mean, it's not every meeting.
The first time I brought you in, there's a little chipmunk behind you. First time I brought you in was because I wanted to know what you thought about me. So this probably dispels all the things people are thinking about me as you're worried that people are thinking something about me. But I was not getting what I thought should be the performance levels. I wasn't getting the sales level, we'll say, that I thought I should have, right? Performance. And so I said, I want you to come into a meeting with me. I'm doing this meeting. I'm talking to multiple people, doing a presentation. There's engineers and buyers and machinists and production people and me. And I know that I'm going to end up running the meeting, because I have the most knowledge in the room and blah, blah, blah. Might sound arrogant, but, with guys, it's just the truth. So I brought you in, and you said, after the meeting, we got in the car, we left, and you said, you're embarrassing people. And I had kind of a dismissive laugh that was my way of telling somebody to sit back and be quiet and listen. And you were right. I was actually doing it on purpose, but unconsciously, because I had a very short temper, or short tolerance, small tolerance for people that didn't know what they were talking about, but they just wanted to say something. And you brought that to my attention. And after that, my sales went through the roof. My meetings got better. But I needed your feminine sensitivities to see and watch people, because you're willing to sit back and watch. I'm just like dumb, stupid, ignorant. Okay, I'll listen to you, and then I would only talk to this guy, and I was like, taking out the whole field and didn't realize it. And so I was very appreciative of that. It made a big difference in my business, and that, you earned your keep for 10 years on that one. Well, you weren't working in the business at that time. You weren't running a business. You were being a housewife and a homemaker, and doing other stuff, and so I appreciated it. And I think a guy, I mean, I was at a point where I was I couldn't see beyond myself at that point. I was getting a little bit, I don't know if I was desperate, but I was just like, okay, I'm doing something, I'm not seeing it, because I have all the answers, and these companies should want the answers, and they should want their work done. But it came down to making other people feel validated, which is this whole generational thing of people, I remember stories of my dad when he was building this huge corporation out in Hutchinson, and he was in meetings, and he would just get up and leave the meeting. He would just say, "There's nothing else going on here that I need to hear," and he'd leave. And back then you could do that. Back then people would be like, "Oh, okay, Dale, sorry we didn't, blah, blah, blah," and then they'd all be kind of like, "Well, okay, we need Dale in the meeting. He's not here, so let's just have our meeting on Wednesday,"
Mm-hmm.
And, that was what I was raised around, that your capability to find solutions is king. And that isn't the way it is nowadays. Everybody's feelings are king. Everybody getting offended is king. Everybody wanting to be part of the solution is king, even if they're not capable. And that's kind of the downfall of what we're seeing in our society, that everybody needs to be included. It's like a participation trophy kind of mentality. And you can't have, 5 geniuses and 18, average intelligence people that are trying to input on the genius ideas and the solutions. Those 18 people should sit and listen, take notes, learn, study, and then find out how those people got to that point. And that's on the way here, I was listening to a couple of guys talk about IQ, and it just happened to be 2 black guys, 2 very smart black guys talking about IQ, and then talking about the differences in people, and saying, nobody says that there needs to be more white guys in the NBA. That's what these guys said, right? But everybody's saying there needs to be more wherever there's a lack of black guys, there needs to be more black guys in this endeavor, right? And the guy was this guy's some kind of a professor and a lecturer and stuff, and he's like, I don't understand what they're talking about. It's like trying to add things to things. I got a bug running down.
Yeah, I was trying to get him, and then he just went right into your shirt.
Is it a big bug?
No, it's a tiny one.
Is it a scary bug?
No, you're okay.
Is it a spider? So they're like, we don't do that. There's not enough square tires on cars. Why do the round tires get all the fame and fortune? It's like nobody says that in any realm where it's happening and it's necessary. And the guy said that doesn't mean white men can't jump. They're just not as quick, don't jump as high, and there are outliers. There's, maybe 1 out of 100,000 white guys that could compete, and that's fine. If they try out and they make it, that's great. But if they don't, then that's the way it is, and nobody tries to defend them and help them. And these guys were pretty upset about it. And they're like, what it's doing is it's hurting us, as a people. It's hurting us. And we need to be lifting up our community, lifting up our people, lifting up everything, and making sure that we're doing the right things, because he says, I have lots of friends in other communities, and I see what their families do, and I see how they regulate and how they do things with each other, and we need to do more of that. And it's just a fact. So like with you, I brought you to more meetings since that time because you added a lot of value to that meeting for me.
Well, and I need to earn my keep.
Well,
I mean, it only lasts 10 years.
How much experience do you, just coming to one of my meetings, what do you see?
Well, a ton of things. Like, first of all, it's in a completely different industry that I'm in, and it's a very different environment. Even before I was in business, it was, entirely new. So there's tons to learn and observe.
So you see structure, you see very high level deals being made, lots of money being talked about, when they're talking production for 4 years or whatever it is and high level jobs, you know, it's a whole different level of conversation. There's not a lot of wasted motion.
Right. There definitely is not a lot of wasted motion. It's interesting to see there's all kinds of personalities, all kinds of positions. Even the most recent one I was in, for example, we were at a show and you're like, hey, let's talk. The guys you wanted to talk with and make some plans with. They had to be at the show, but you're like, so let's meet at lunch. Let's meet then. And they were kind of like, no, I can't. No, I can't. And you're like, we finally got.
You saw me work through the hierarchy of where I could get with
and
them.
They weren't trying to avoid you. No. It was just that they actually couldn't meet.
Yeah.
And so I just, you know, like any good salesperson, you got to just like, well, how about this? How about that? You know, because even though you get a no, it's not necessarily because they're trying to avoid you. It's just like it actually doesn't.
When a guy hears no, he thinks later. When he hears maybe, he thinks yes. And when he's told to get lost, he thinks maybe next week. Yeah.
So I got to see in this circumstance that, you know, not that I didn't think the guy was avoiding you, because I've been fortunately in enough circumstances where I was like, he's just doing his job, right? And then when we all sat in the conference room, it was really interesting to see how he started engaging. And it was really just questions that he needed answered. And, you know, just your cadence and how you just went back and forth and you weren't trying to sell him, you know, but it was a conversation. He opened up more and it was just really very interesting to watch. I mean, if I could make a business of just observing and being, you know, present to learn, I think that's what I love the idea about podcasting is, you know, we are sharing our ideas and what we've learned and the, you know, I can share books I've read, but anyways, so those experiences have been extremely valuable. And yes, I recently listened to a podcast about marriages and birth order and how where your birth order is in your family, how it's better or worse to match up with, you know, like we're both firstborns, for example, which is really rare. First of all, that you get together and stay together and then be married for 20 some years. But I think the key difference is that you're 12 years older than me. And so I, not only because you're my husband do I submit to you, but there's also just like, yeah, spoken or unspoken, just deep down, it's like, he's lived more life, you know? And so I think that underneath it all, I think that's why we are firstborns, but if we were closer in age, I do think there would be the typical problems that were with two firstborn.
Yeah, I mean, it would depend.
Partners.
It depends. I mean, your temperament, well, when I met you,
yeah,
your temperament, it wasn't what it is now, but of course you were younger, I was younger. There's a famous line that I said to you when we lived in our apartment. You were hands on hip doing stuff every day towards me, and I was like, listen, girl.
I was being cute.
I said, yeah, you were very cute. I said, you don't fit into my jeans, so, you know, it's kind of like the thing, like who wears the pants in this family, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't fit in my pants. And I think those metaphors and analogies that I used over the years, you really understood them. Instead of me just telling you, just yelling at you or telling you something, I would put it into a...
Instead of you putting your hands on your hips and saying, don't boss me around.
Yeah.
You're not the boss of me.
Yeah. Well, I did say that a couple times. Yeah, you're not the boss of me.
Well,
but I said it in a funny way.
But you said it early on, too. It was very early on in a relationship, so you were setting the tone. So it wasn't like a year in and you finally got up the gumption to say something. And we have other stories in our podcast, but, you know, that's one example. You know, there's only room enough for one of us to wear these pants, and you don't fit.
If we went, so you speak multiple languages, and I submit to you completely when it comes to that, because guys will submit if somebody does things better than them, right? And so, but we're not equal, you know, and people can't handle that, right? When you say that, people can't handle that. Me and you are not equal. We're different in many ways, and there is equanimity in our relationship that causes me to sit with you and talk with you like we are now, like we do if we're making big decisions, that kind of stuff. But ultimately, I know that if I'm going to be responsible for the outlying issues and problems that come up, then I need to make the decision. And ultimately, I need to make the final decision. And I will tell you what I think, and you 99% of the time say, that sounds good, I agree with that. And I'm not like, I'm the boss now. It takes a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of criticism. There's a lot of problems. You will be wrong a lot. You'll make mistakes as the boss. And most people aren't willing to own up to that. They don't want to take that. So then people will say, well, I need to be 50% of this. I need to be 50% of that. No, nothing is ever 50%. You could cut an apple in half and you'll never get a 50-50 split. Right? You can get it in money with money. I mean, you could split 25 cents here, 25 cents there. Now we're 50-50.
Yeah. I remember several years ago when I said I wanted to be on par with you in our relationship, and you kind of mocked me. I think you're kind of challenging me, like I think a guy. You laughed.
I laughed,
and I think in a way, like how a guy would treat a guy, like, okay, you really want to contend, No, we'll
I
see.
just knew that you didn't know what you were saying.
Yeah, and looking back, I didn't know either, but also I think so also. But looking back, I think I really needed those crucibles. I mean, I went through multiple crucibles since then,
yeah.
And I am much more humble, I think.
I'm glad you're telling us.
And much more understanding, so that at least in my head, hopefully it comes out, but at least in my head, before I say something to you, I'm like, is this really how I want to say it? Because I think I've been in, not your shoes, but in positions more like your shoes. And like, I had to go through the experiences. I mean, it's the classic life lessons.
There's nothing like experience as a teacher. It's,
yeah.
You decide you want to do something, you go and do it, and now you're saddled with the success and the failure. You're saddled with the responsibility and the delegation of whatever you're delegating, right? And you're responsible for what you delegate. So there's all these layers of responsibility, and most people don't want to handle that. And lots of people work for companies like, I'm in charge of a $23 million budget on this and that and this and that. Well, it's not your money. It's not, you didn't make that money. It's been handed to you. And,
if you mismanage that job, you're not out the $23 million. You're out of a job.
You probably get fired. Yeah. Nowadays, you may not. You may go to the part of the company where all the failures go and get a trophy.
Yeah. So another question. I have a suspicion that guys innately are more trusting in life, let's say, than women. And I'm just going to speak from personal experience. Because, yes and no, because you've got to put action.
It's easier for guys to risk. Inherently, women need to be less trusting, because let's say if a man and a woman get together and the woman gets pregnant, she's carrying a baby for 9 months. She's going to have a child for the next 18 years. And the man can take off and be like, I'm gone. And so inherently women, like we've said earlier, women are the gatekeepers. Women are they've got to decide, how far they're going to go, because there's greater consequences.
But ironically, I think that works against women. And here's why. Because if it's kind of in our nature to not be trusting, or to question, what happens is then you become, in a relationship, you become the nag. You become the, I'm concerned, I'm worried, I'm not trusting the situation, my husband, God.
So how do you get the bridle on your nag? That's a horse reference.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Is that actually a question, or are you just being funny?
It's a question.
Oh, okay.
Do you have an inner nag?
Yes. Yeah, it drives me crazy.
Okay, so how do you get the bridle on your nag?
For me, even even attempting, even getting close to getting the bridle on the nag is, for me, daily Bible reading.
Okay.
I need to set my mind and
So
spirit
the Bible
and heart
reading is
right
the bag of oats that coax the nag into the stall, and then you can get the bridle on it?
Yep. Yep.
So what's one thing that has helped you in that sense?
Well,
Here we'll make a short.
The first
What's
thing
one thing that has bridled your inner nag, Tara?
Okay, real quick. The first thing that comes to mind is a little over a year ago, I had 2 contractors, subcontractors that accused me of stealing, of being dishonest, and I was extremely offended because I do my best to be upfront, honest. You took
it very personally.
I took it very personally. And then it occurred to me one day, this was before my daily Bible reading. This got me actually eventually into my daily Bible reading. I thought, I'm not trusting God. I don't have faith in God. So why should another human being have faith and trust in me? Lowly human being, me. Why should they trust me? And that's what really got me to thinking about my inner nag.
Come on, Tara, you are a woman. Let's hear you roar.
I heard that growing up, and I heard plenty of women roaring, and it was not fun.
How did it work out for them?
The family's divided.
Meaning
that...
Meaning the 3 main examples, the 2 main examples that you saw growing up as married women are divorced now, right?
Are divorced. They don't have good relationships with their children, if
Right.
any relationship at all.
Financially, they're basically destitute.
And that's about it.
So if you go against the principles of the Bible,
I'm just realizing more and more that it leads to the hardened heart. And that really became apparent to me early on, and I'm still unraveling what that means. And it leads to the broken heart. I think it leads to a lot of anxiety and a lot of disharmony among people.
So you're essentially describing that you become a peaceful woman, right?
I hope so. I'm getting more peaceful.
Well, a woman that has no peace in her life, in her mind, and in her heart, what is she like?
Well, she's chaotic and usually creates disharmony in her outward life. It reflects in her outward life. And I'm speaking from experience. I did that myself, not just by what I'm observing.
I'm going to give you kudos right now. Let's say 3-4 years ago, if I'd asked you that question, you would have answered me very quickly and you would have said, same thing goes for men.
Oh.
And you don't do that anymore.
Well, not as much. I know I've done it occasionally.
But you didn't do it here.
Yeah.
Why is that?
It honestly didn't even occur to me.
That's because you have peace.
Yeah. Definitely more peace.
You're not trying to outwardly blame. You're not trying to point fingers. You're not trying to compare. You're not trying to level up over something or somebody. That's peace.
Mm-hmm.
Right? People can't handle it. I was getting yelled at one time a few years ago, and the person yelling at me couldn't handle it, that I wasn't reacting.
Mm.
You were told that you have no affect.
Yeah.
Because the person was all like, "Grr, grr, grr, grr," and you were like, oh, I'm just listening.
Yeah.
You had to have a calm nature about you in order to listen, because all you do is escalate if you start arguing and yelling at each other. And then if your words don't mean anything anymore, then it turns to violence.
Yeah.
If people can't listen to each other.
So kind of the heart of the question I'm trying to work around to get inward is, so I'm a person that left to her own guiles would be the boss babe, the boss biatch kind of person. And just like personality wise, you said early on and in multiple of these podcasts that you really liked that when I came into your gym, you saw that I had a great work ethic, and that really stood out and was attractive to you. But that's a double-edged sword. Like, that can be a great characteristic, and then it also can be like a drawback in a relationship.
It can be worked with. There are certain characteristics, certain traits that cannot be worked with.
Okay.
Right? If a person has turned themselves, let's say, I'll talk about guys. If a guy's a cheater, he's probably going to be a cheater. If he has decided he's not happy enough with himself that he cannot be content with a person in a relationship, that once he's in a relationship, everything is calm and normal and wonderful, he has to disrupt that. That's a character trait that probably can't be changed for the most part. There is no woman that's going to change it. That guy has to change it for himself. Mm-hmm. And vice versa for women, right? And what I saw in you was that you had a good work ethic. You had a desire to better yourself. So there's a whole bunch of stuff built into a good work ethic, right? It's a desire to achieve. It's a desire to make yourself better. It's a desire to know more. Those are all traits that can be worked with and can be enhanced in the right direction. Could they make somebody a neurotic, crazy basket case? Yeah. If you're always thinking, well, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. But you ran into someone like me that says, only make yourself better than yourself, right? Do not compare yourself to that person you were working out with yesterday. Do not compare yourself to the guy in the gym lifting 400 pounds. Do not compare yourself to the person when you're in a marathon that is running 10 minutes faster than you. You have to do the work. You have to only compare to yourself, because you can only get better than yourself, ultimately, right?
Yes. So with that personality characteristic, I've had to really moderate it. It's like, all of my motocrossing years, it's like you have a really powerful motor and you have to learn how to have throttle control. Okay, so I have to have throttle control with myself.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Great analogy. You like my analogy?
These analogies have been used multiple times in our life, right?
So,
because I come from that background.
Getting throttle control over myself has been challenging, and so I have to properly direct myself. And I don't think I'm the only woman, especially these days. So many women, my generation in particular, were raised, you can do anything, you can be anything. So even if you already have that personality trait kind of innately, it puts you in a hyperdrive. You hit that power band real easily. And so I've had to really consider, because like I said, I gravitate towards these guys' podcasts and stuff. And fortunately, I do talk a lot with you. I mean, that's kind of my embedded question is, message is, I do end up running a lot of stuff by you.
Well, you're gauging it. I mean, most of these guys are, and nothing against them. Everybody's got to do what they got to do, but they're all generally on TRT or some sort of testosterone enhancement, and they're sitting online and they're barking and yelling and telling everybody what to do, and that's not a leader. That's not a person that, some people will listen to them, but mostly young women and young men, because their minds are formable, and they're in a state of confusion when they're listening. They're going, why does the world work the way it does? Oh, it's because of that.
So my question to you is, though, if you were to talk to a younger version of me, or even me now, because I'm eternally young in your mind.
I'll talk to you now.
What would you recommend to married women in particular to listen to, especially if they have my type of personality, in order to satiate that drive, but not get out of their lane?
Read the Bible and apply it to yourself, and never apply it in an advantageous way. So if you read the whole Bible all the way through, straight through, just read the whole thing straight through.
And I should say, you weren't actually the one that said, hey, Terry, you should do daily Bible reading.
No. But if you read the Bible straight through, it's not going to read like a good novel, right? Yeah. Read the Bible straight through. What it's going to do is it's going to infuse your mind with foundational principles, with an understanding that things were worse in the past and they can get better in the future. There's like a metaphysical timeline that you're going through when you read the Bible. Mm-hmm. And your brain and your psyche will understand it before you do. Your mind will understand it, and your emotions will understand it. And never, ever, ever use anything in the Bible to your advantage. So you read, well, in the Bible it says a woman's supposed to submit to a man, so I'm going to stay home and I'm not going to work and I'm not going to have to do this. I'm not going to have to do that. I'm just going to submit to you, and you're the man. You have to provide. And now you're leveraging the Bible against your man. Anything you leverage against your relationship will fail, right? A house divided cannot stand, right? A house built on sand cannot stand. And so if you get better than yourself every day, and if you read the Bible and you're convicted to submit to your man, that means you're not submitted. If you're convicted to be part of your family and be different with your family, that means that you weren't doing it. The Bible will structure your mind and your psyche for a proper life. You don't have to even believe anything in there. Just like anything you read, you will start becoming like the things you read. You'll think about them. And so you may not even be a Christian in reading the Bible and, and be like, oh, I feel this way now. And you might feel guilty even if you're not a Christian because you feel that way. But it doesn't matter. It's just the reading of God's word as given to the people that wrote it down is a foundational tool for life. And so that's what I would say. There isn't a lot of modern things you can listen to get yourself right foundationally, right? You have to be on a quest if you're going to do it. It's a quest. When I was by myself, I wanted to do it. And I went to immersion courses and I went to trainings and I read tons of books but I was actively seeking strategies and protocols and structures that I could implement into my life for me. There was nobody around. I wasn't in a relationship. I wasn't trying to be better than my spouse. I wasn't trying to be more for my spouse. I was trying to be more for me. I was trying to be a better me. And so there was nobody that I could leverage it against. There was nothing that I ever did in a relationship to make my spouse or the person I was dating feel less than me. And a lot of this online jibber jabber, gibber gobblish, bibi bobber, all this stuff that's going on online is about I'm above you, you're below me, you listen to me, and I'll take care of you. And that is not how relationships are formed. That's not how they're structured. That's not how they work. That nobody ever says that, and you can say, here's how I would like to operate. And if you would like to fit into that, this is what I would like you to do. And then you say, I like that. I would like to do this and that and this and that. And then realize that every day is going to be different. Mm-hmm. You can try and hold your spouse, your partner to the things they said 2 weeks ago, and they may not be able to hold to it because life changes. In America, we had the housing bubble. And back in the past, we've had gas shortages. We've had, there's so many economic things that happen, and a person has to be aware and flexible enough to flow. There's a dynamic flow in life that has to happen. And that's why I come home every day and I smile at you and I see you and I'm happy to see you. I never come home and be like, oh, F this, F that, this happened. Oh, what are you saying this? Why don't you have this done? Why?
Yeah.
That's not the way I live. If I think there's too many dishes in the sink, I clean them. If I need a shirt done, my laundry, I'll do it. You do the laundry 99.999% of the time. And without even saying anything.
Well, you set it up perfectly when we first got together. You shrank one of my very nice wool shirts.
That's how you do it, guys.
And so I just volunteered to always do the laundry. So before I became the perfect wife just a couple of years ago, how did you put up with me for 22 years?
I love you. It's that simple. It's that simple.